versus Team Solomid.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we were talking about High playing Zed in so many of his last games. Lustboy's actually played Janna in 5 of 6. The only time he hasn't played it recently was in the NA game he played against COG, where, of course, Afromu was the Janna.
Yeah. No Vegars this time as we look to the support for our first ban. Top lane coming in for the second one, and a mid lane as well, as Bjergsen showed us last week. For himself, they will be banning that out. See where the Bix decide to go from here, because the mid lanes do obviously have big pools. How many bans do you want to throw at that?
And this year has been a bit of a resurgence for Bjergsen if you compare the XiaoWeiXiao versus Bjergsen rivalry. I mean, last year, Bjergsen won the MVP in the spring split. XiaoWeiXiao won the MVP in the summer split. The same XiaoWeiXiao just has been non-existent recently. He doesn't seem to show the same prominence in lane, and his team fighting hasn't transitioned. A lot of that has to do with the team being switched out entirely around him. The old LMQ is gone. It is just XiaoWeiXiao and 4 new players. The Janna ban as well will be, in my opinion, a very good ban. Yes, Lustboy is good on most supports I see him, but TSM may have became over-reliant on that Janna.
That one straight to my heart. The cannon goes out. I would have loved to see Impact play that, but he may be taking Morgana back to the top lane again. Was outspoken about being happy to show that in North America for himself.
Yeah. Impact's top lane cannon is real good. Yeah. And it's just something that TSM strictly doesn't want to deal with.
Not at all. Santorin, the Rek'Sai, he picks for himself. Not too hard to do that. Doesn't have to worry about what's going to be going through the rest of the team. And we're looking for Lustboy. Maybe a little bit of engage here from him if the Annie does get locked in.
Yeah, nice thing about Lustboy is it's not so much like Jan is the only thing he can play. He has proven success on other supports. And now TSM with a more engage-heavy style. Another Annie game for him.
What their losses came on, that was Teammate and Liquid. If any of these champions were in that mix, but no avail. They are not. Seeing Impulse pick here now. Lee Sin and Graves getting locked in. Going to be good movement for Rush in the jungle. He loves himself some Lee Sin, so maybe we'll actually see a little controlled play, if you will. Being able to get back to safety while be aggressive.
It was actually TSM who was laughing when Rush gave the interview saying, if I can play Lee Sin, maybe we'll win. Maybe that's what I need to carry. And they very promptly banned it in the next game against them. This time they focused very heavily on top lane bans, by the way. Maokai banned away by Team Impulse. And if you consider Lissandra a top lane flex, 3 more top lane bans by Team Solomid. Maybe opening the door here for Dyrus to play that Irelia.
Yeah, very, very true. Also, we've been noting the Dyrus within teleport's positioning, a small weak point in Team Solo's mid-fight phase, but the rest of the team is so strong by that point, they can usually pick up the slack. So he does get that Irelia. He'll be adding a little bit more power to the game than a Maokai, then being just a tank for the team, and we'll see how that organizes for TSM.
This is what they're going to do.
Locked in on the other side. Does XiaoWeiXiao go for the Lulu again, or does he pop over to LeBlanc? Hover it now. Apollo going for the tried and true hover of his Varus.
One of the best games we saw Team Impulse play is when they had the Morgana top with the Lulu in the mid lane.
Yep, just recently.
A very Zerg-style team composition, but they had the Sivir and the Rek'Sai as well to just kind of run in with the team. Lee Sin is much more versatile. I would love the Lulu pick for them now.
XiaoWeiXiao has really had the most success on that Lulu pick in mid lanes. And they are taking their time.
They need a blind pick mid laner, which is the tricky thing, against Bjergsen. High was just talking about how Zed is one of the only blind pick mid laners you can do.
Is up. It is up, Jatt. But it looks like it's going to be the Kassadin Leona. A little bit of gap closer here that they can use to get into these fights, and a lot of lockdown potential once that fight has already started. What does Bjergsen decide to finalize this composition with? He's got a minute to do so.
All the time in the world to talk back and forth with Locodoco on what they want in that mid lane to match up against the highly potent late game Kassadin.
We saw this be the choice in their loss versus Liquid, the Cassiopeia pick that is. And now over to LeBlanc. Bjergsen obviously able to do whatever he needs to do in mid lane. So having an assassin means he will be able to 1v1, may not have to draw too much pressure from his own jungler to help him out. One thing Santorin really has going for him is he can almost do whatever he wants in the game when Bjergsen gets going.
TSM showing a couple different styles recently. Santorin getting more and more versatile as a jungler pickup. Starting out from being only the guy who sits in Bjergsen's back pocket to impacting the rest of the map. And now with the LeBlanc versus Kassadin matchup, that's a very swingy matchup. Two types of assassins. If Kassadin gets to the late game before LeBlanc, I've seen Kassadin just destroy that matchup, but early on in the laning phase, LeBlanc can very well get the wave clear and pressure advantage onto the Kassadin. So two titans in the mid lane, both going with somewhat similar champions.
Used to be the counter to each other when they both had silences. It was such a fun lane. Quiet. No, you quiet. So we're going to get an explosive matchup here with assassins on both sides for the mid laner. XiaoWeiXiao and Bjergsen are two spring and summer split MVPs. About to go head-to-head in that lane. If we get a lane swap, we'll get to see a little bit more action between those two, which would be just gravy. A lot of people believing in TSM as you see the signs. We're just about ready to get out of the champion selected into this game. And the coaches to do the final shake.
Fly and Loco Doco.
Yeah.
Very good respect between those two guys. I mean, last time these teams played, we were starting to build it up like Team Impulse had the highest ceiling of teams in the North American LCS, and TSM was kind of there, and they were trying to match them. They didn't come anywhere close last game. They're going to have to try and bounce back this one with the Morgana top lane, something Impact has won with in the NA LCS.
All right, see if they can raise the roof. Once again, we're going to be checking in to see how you at home think the game is going to go. So send your picks to @LOL Esports with the hashtag TIPWin or hashtag TSMWin, and we'll calculate those throughout the game. Yeah, that's right. Point at the camera, making you famous. Going to see how this game goes. You know, talking about Santorin and how he's kind of evolved, Lustboy as well. You just look at how oh gosh, the crowd always looking. You just look at how TSM has actually brought in their subs and how kind of smoothly those additions have gone.
It's true. Team Solomid, as an organization, has done a better job over time of replacing their roster but maintaining the same identity.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So much of that just comes down to their owner and former mid laner, Reginald. It's the organizational structure that is so sorely lacking in a lot of esports organizations that TSM has been able to...
It's like a team culture.
Exactly. It's a team culture and team brand that TSM has created. Plug in Santorin, he fits right in. Put in Lustboy, fits right in. Everything is centered around that mid laner, whether it's
still, you still can. And even with that pressure, Bjergsen has been once again able to pretty much go back into his original split form when we saw him come over to North America. Highlights out of solo queue all over Reddit. Highlights now back into the LCS and taking 1v1 kills as they come, just like it's nothing. Seeing the early game pan out as usual with the early wards. Let's see how the lanes match up, though, if they can actually get the swap in here is what's they've been the guesswork, as Medios has been calling it to start these off.
We've been 2 for 2 for lane swaps today, and in both of those matches, it heavily swung the game in the favor of one team. I mean, obviously the teams that played it much, much better, and it put the game into a somewhat unrecoverable state. With the scouting that happened this matchup, we may end up getting our somewhat standard lanes. Does appear a little bit odd, but yeah, I think we're just going to end up seeing standard lanes. Impact in the bottom lane is waiting to react to a lane swap or something. I think they were ready, and now he's just going to be a little delayed. That's tricky for Impact on Morg. Having to burn his teleport right at the start of the
goes back the mana potion.
Yeah. Interesting.
The farm fun lane is just going to be throwing out Tormented Soil here, trying to keep himself from being pushed into the turret where it's a little harder to farm. See how Dyrus takes to this lane. If he keeps warded up, it shouldn't be too difficult. Oh, that was nice of him.
Doesn't want to auto attack at level 1 because the aggro is actually usually hits you more than you can auto attack for. So a lot of times at level 1, it is actually advisable to just hit the minions and not harass.
Gentleman's agreement. Keeps things easy. Keeps you alive. I'd say that's better than an agreement overall.
Gentleman's law.
Gentleman's law. There you go. XiaoWeiXiao already pushed to his turret. You can see Bjergsen's idea in this one. Already getting a fast distortion on the back line to clear out the waves and make it hard for XiaoWeiXiao. But we know he'll get his farm eventually. And we're actually going to see Rush right now with a ping towards the mid lane.
Maybe very early gank. Very early gank.
Woo! There's a vote and a half. See, Rush saw the vote and he was like, nope, not going.
He sensed it.
That vote's too high. Santorin, though, he's like, I'm the 91%. Here we go. And he stops.
Early gank pressure by Rek'Sai. He's hoping to see Lee Sin dancing around somewhere.
He's stretching the hamstrings. He's getting ready.
He's really waiting for XiaoWeiXiao to go for a CS, hoping he overextends for one. Otherwise, this gank is a total waste of time. Or, yeah, he would have also needed that chain to land. Nice little sidestep by XiaoWeiXiao.
The chain would have been imperative. Definitely would have gotten a flash, which would have been a nice return gank. Doesn't mean Santorin won't come back. But, okay, so that was, I was going to say there's a ping on the blue, but that was Impulse's ping over to Santorin's blue. They know he's there. I was saying, is Bjergsen going to get this already? That would be crazy. So, easy stuff for both teams in the early game. We're only 4 minutes in. Santorin tries to make his mark on the mid lane. Rush was there. That would have been a great counter gank, actually, if Rush did decide to completely go for that. Santorin would have been able to come in nicely.
But they had the wards to see it.
Yeah.
That would have been ideal. Of course, early on in this game, just the trinket wards across the sides and a much more subdued laning phase for these guys. One weakness the Wildturtle of Lustboy have had is actually in their 2v2 laning. We'll see if they can improve that here. Lustboy's got to be very careful against the Leona. Leona can zero out Annie in a lot of situations. It's a very bursty lane on both sides. Could very well be tilted by jungle presence, which makes Rush's roam down here all the more important. The mini wave's in this weird spot, and Apollo missed the cannon.
I think we heard that one from the crowd. He's pushing up a bit here. Rush is in range. That's the flash into the Q stun. Zenith Blade follows up immediately to try and kind of get that crowd control to lap on itself, but doesn't work out. Flash is all over the place.
Yeah, they end up trading flashes. I do not agree necessarily with Apollo's Ignite. That is a win for the TSM duo lane. Now if Santorin even looks down there, they'll end up winning a 3v3 matchup since they have the Summoner Skull advantage.
Good movement by Santorin as well. Their top side of the jungle was warded up. He's safe, sees Rush in the bottom. He knows what he can do. He can start denying some of those camps. Rush, however, nope. No, he did smite this, so he's good. Or he did not. He smited the drop. I'm okay. We'll get it one of these times. Gold's all even here, just about 6 minutes in. Bjergsen and XiaoWeiXiao faring well, trading the same amount of damage back and forth, which makes me believe that a solo kill is going to be coming up here at level 6 between one of these guys.
It's a very even matchup. They're both with Flask as well, trying their best to sustain and not get poked out by one another. Very dynamic lane right there. Ooh, good chain.
You can do
Speaking
anything.
of those solo kills,
I can do better, says Bjergsen. The level 6 hits. Oh no, he chucked the potion just in time. Woo! Fast fingers by XiaoWeiXiao to get back onto those health bots.
Very surprising that if both laners were so dead set on that level 6 fight that we didn't see a jungler waiting in the wings. Those guys kind of all in each other. Bjergsen does get the better of the trade, not having to burn his flash. XiaoWeiXiao doesn't have too big of a disadvantage though because he was able to farm and did not give up that kill. Very close to getting solo killed by Bjergsen yet again like he did in their last matchup.
That was intense. He played that one
to the limit.
Very to the limit. We'll see if it happens again. Pink wards now coming out of the inventories of Rush and XiaoWeiXiao as they leave the base. So they're looking to keep vision in their jungle. Maybe start creeping it up in just a few. Teleport to the top lane for Impact. So after that bit of a back and forth, it's still going to be hard to gank the mid laners, but we may see a return here.
Yeah, the only way they'd be able to gank that mid lane is if they catch them during an all-in. And Bjergsen having his flash could even be safer after that.
Oh, high Impact. He just walks back to lane. The ultimate forces the flash on Dyrus. Impact says, I'll take it.
He has a big item advantage on Dyrus right now. Dyrus is trying to stick around for a little bit more. He doesn't want to lose out on this cannon minion wave right now. Although with that being said, Dyrus has been doing a great job keeping his farm up.
Yeah, got some money to work with.
Ooh. Not much follow though from Impact. His Tormented Soil was down from clearing the minion wave. Woo! Woo!
Dyrus! Oh my lord! Woo!
He's all right. He got the farm.
Foot.
He has the farm.
He knows what he's doing. That's
now,
the scary
does
part.
Impact want to flash behind him while he's recalling?
Do it.
Kill.
Do it. All right, so I like to build that impact, though. Looks like Morellonomicon is going to be the choice, which will also hurt Dyrus once he gets below that portion of HP put on his grievous wound, so Irelia won't get all that lifesteal back that she so nicely gets.
What Dyrus actually did there was something he does often. He will teleport back before he's full health, but this is one of those things, trying to catch Bjergsen while he's engaging. How to flash the wall? And he decides not to.
Nice.
Smarter to flash towards his jungler than to flash over the wall.
As intense as these situations look, they're playing them very patient. We all think it's going to be his dire situation, and he's just saving flash, getting ready for it. Still, good moves by Rush, XiaoWeiXiao. We said there may be a return to that mid lane. They do get his flash, which is actually quite nice, especially since that distortion is easily usable by LeBlanc. So good moves all around as Impulse tries to get themselves a little bit of a lead. Rush not going too hard this game. I think that's an overall good point. Not really a reason to dive just yet, though, so maybe speaking too soon. Coming up on 9 minutes. 79 to 67 in this lane. We hear the farm alarm go off as Santorin approaches mid lane, and Rush is actually going to do the same here. We'll see if they meet at the same time.
Ooh, just trying to all-in Bjergsen, this time saving his W. So, something that is peculiar here is the 500 gold advantage TSM has accrued in the laning phase. You kind of wonder where that comes from. If I actually take a look at the gold, it's because Santorin has been farming much more efficiently in big camps. Almost all of that gold advantage is from Santorin's farming over Rush. Dyrus as well as the other guy who has a lane edge, and that's being taken back in this bottom lane. Where now
Adrian goes down.
Wow.
The Tiber's locked out there. They're trying to fight without practically any mana. You can see how low Apollo is on this one going in, so that was a dire situation for them.
And the only lane where TSM had a deficit was in that bottom lane because they were getting LCS.
Did have.
Yeah, did have, exactly. Now it's becoming another situation where TSM is winning all their lanes. Rush continuing to try the gank pressure, though. One of these has to work if Tip wants a chance in this game.
He gets the cripple on. Dyrus still wants to go for the kill, though. Transcendent Blades is down, and Dyrus is going to find himself on the ground as well. Rolling around in the tormented soil. That's going to be a 1-to-1 as they get kills across the map here.
So much time into those, investment into those ganks from Rush's Lee Sin. You could see how it was costing him. Santorin was winning pretty much just from farming while Rush was ganking, and it wasn't actually putting TSM's lanes farther behind. Now, Impact needs to be able to exert some type of pressure onto Dyrus in that top lane. Otherwise, that kill onto Rush won't matter. He still isn't ahead of Santorin in gold, even after picking up that kill.
It's going to get rough as soon as Dyrus gets a little bit of HP, and we already saw the damage. He's able to push Impact out of that lane, and the Zhonya's isn't anywhere close for him or an armor item. It's going to be tough for Impact to stand toe-to-toe with Dyrus, which means he could have his lane pushed, which also leads into being able to teleport easier. Things could go well for TSM here as it starts to creep up towards the mid part of the game. The first kills have gone on to Rush and over to Wildturtle, so a little spread out there. Might still get some here out of Bjergsen and XiaoWeiXiao in the mid lane. Rush still.
Wow.
Oh, no, rather Santorin, I should say.
What a great side step there by XiaoWeiXiao. I love the idea from Bjergsen to distortion onto the minions to get rid of the minion block and then try and land a point-blank chain. But XiaoWeiXiao just juked almost forward so Bjergsen wouldn't hit that chain. And ends up having to not burn anything for Bjergsen's creative move.
Looks like those are Rush's pings, saying I'm going towards the river. They do have some good wards on both sides. Anybody's fight for this. A little bit of a rotation up from Adrian, but they hold off as Rush calls. Maybe a mid gank. Good safeguard here to XiaoWeiXiao. He is keeping pressure on every lane, but it's also causing Santorin to have to approach lanes quite often as well. Guess it's good if Bjergsen has not started to get going yet. By this time, he's got a few kills to his name.
Can definitely see a slightly different strategy yet again from this team Solomid, specifically Santorin. So much of this early game towards farming, kind of just accepting that Lee Sin will be able to make more ganks. So he's done a significant number of jungle invades into Rush's jungle to smite the Wisp and get vision of him there, or he just wards around and then goes back to farming.
Yeah. Fast to the second item, Sightstone as well after Warrior Enchant. Keep the vision up for Team Solomid. So already double sight stone
gank
before 10 minutes in. Dyrus is very tanky
He'd
here.
have to burn flash immediately. It's just a matter of how extended he gets, or if the first binding lands. If you can point blank an ultimate onto someone, the flash actually doesn't break the tether.
Ooh, there's going to be fights all across the map here. Looks like XiaoWeiXiao's forced out of that. They may decide to go now onto Dyrus in the top lane. He actually hasn't even focused boots yet, so he's only using the tenacity of his passive. Doesn't look like it's going to help him out this time. He goes down again, a bit of deja vu there, and a repeat gank towards Dyrus.
The Dyrus camp in full effect. But with Santorin throwing that gank in the mid lane, does grant a turret for TSM, which if you compare the total amount of gold, means TSM actually extends their lead a little bit.
A lot of focus on the Dyrus. Have to consider what Bjergsen's going to be able to start doing with that vision of seeing Rush in the top lane constantly. Right now, they're, after that gank, able to go for the Dragon, feeling safe about this. Rush doesn't look like he'll be anywhere near the range, so. We did see a lot of wards placed here recently by Impulse, but as those wear out, TSM knows it, and they go ahead and take down the Dragon.
TSM with a slight lead in the early game, although Team Impulse, we got that backdoor Morgana that could be good. Oh, nice catch.
That's going to be a dead Lustboy going down. Adrian with the quick fingers actually picks up the kill, which is a little unfortunate.
And they ping the Dragon. That would have been nice to have up at that point. So now with Lustboy's flash down, so repeat ganks are a real possibility. Yeah. This is where Impulse could try and get the game back, is not trying to shut down Bjergsen, but instead get both of the side lanes rolling. Rush's ganks beginning to work after so many attempts.
Should be able to get the turret out of this. They are taking a little bit of time to push onto it, so I was going to say it might cause them some trouble, but with Wildturtle just giving this one up, he's going to look to farm the wave as it crashes back in. So Impulse, they make a bit of a move on the map. It's good that they got something out of that after the kill, because Dragon was already taken, so they don't just walk away with nothing.
Yeah.
Back out every time he can. Santorin back to farming. 74 to 44. We're going to have another video Sniddly on our hands here.
Potentially. I also want to double down on the effectiveness of Sightstone on Rek'Sai. When he is burrowed, he gets the Tremor Sense, but not genuine vision. If he puts a ward down, he gets the genuine vision from that. So you can kind of ward whenever you're looking to get absolute knowledge of someone. TSM was also in the midst of some huge power spikes right now. They have two Trinity Force users on their team that both just completed that Trinity Force. Expect some roaming and some pressure pushes here from TSM right now.
And once they reach those turrets, they aren't long for this world either. Have to watch for a little bit of that poke from Wildturtle as well. He'll be able to zone people off if Impulse is able to reach these turrets. TSM has everything working in their favor here as we approach 16 minutes. But we know Impulse can fight back. Yesterday's game showed us that, I should say, with their double AD composition hanging in there for the last thread.
What a tough loss Impulse had yesterday to Team 8, because they were getting massacred for so long in the game. And then they actually had 2 inhibitors down, but then ended up losing the game at Baron. It was one of the most back and forth, in a bad way, games we've seen in the North American LCS, which is kind of hard to recover from. This game, they're still in it, and they need to make sure to keep a level head in their playmaking.
I think one of the things that's keeping both of these teams in it, or I'd say Impulse in it rather, is the fact that Bjergsen hasn't actually gotten kills yet. Hopefully XiaoWeiXiao can be the first to get those in his column. Now not putting out too much damage to Santorin with all the HP that he's been able to put up. He's huge with that giant spout on top of the Sightstone. Just health stats are what's going to keep him alive in the initial part of this fight. Nobody can burst him out on the side of Impulse. So they're doing the right things to keep the 5v5s in their favor, as well as the roaming. Bjergsen going very aggressive here. Distorts over the wall. The safety of Santorin in the back pocket. See if they can get anything out of it.
This could be TSM's attempt of making a play. They have a numbers advantage potentially. They catch Rush.
Ooh, he was standing on a few of his own wards, but they still knew that he was there due to the rotation of Impulse. And they do. They find Rush.
Yeah, he almost made the play there, but Santorin outplayed him.
Yep.
And now the other Trinity Force user, Dyrus, tries to close on Apollo. Doesn't make it.
You don't want to chase too much. Good focus by Dyrus to not get greedy for that. Keep his lane pushed. TSM, they are playing this one safe still. They got that kill towards the top lane, but they didn't try to just push down the top turret. They want to make sure they don't lose things to Impulse like this mid lane here. So Bjergsen back to mid. Dyrus stays in the bottom lane to farm it up. Playing very methodical here to keep a 2,000 gold lead as Impulse ticks up. 166 to 152 in that mid lane. Not too bad for either of them. And finally, we were just saying if one of those guys gets a kill, it's going to start the advantage. Bjergsen did just get that kill.
You're absolutely right about that. Also, the Athene's Unholy Grail does delay his absolute power on LeBlanc. He had to build a little bit more defensively against XiaoWeiXiao. And then, because XiaoWeiXiao delayed his boots, he's really trying to rush to Zhonya's on Kassadin, which would be a way, even though XiaoWeiXiao doesn't have the kill, to kind of reach his next power spike before Bjergsen does. That's what a lot of this game is going to be about, is who can get to their power spikes and then take advantage of them. Because it is actually quite close, a slight edge to TSM.
Right.
TSM's in the midst of theirs right now with double Trinity Force. But as soon as the two Zhonyas get completed by these solo laners of Impulse, it kind of bounces back temporarily, assuming TSM can't take too much advantage with these double Triforces.
Hopefully that can happen before we see 4 levels go on to Bjergsen and the rest of the team. There'll be 16 then with that final level of ultimate, and whatever they have may not help in the fights on the side of Impulse. Oh, Solar Flare just behind Dyrus, losing out on a very, very big ultimate there. Wildturtle, the rest of the team, they're gonna follow through. A nice block by Adrian to be the human shield, but it was only for so long because he himself goes down. 2 more kills for Team Solomid as they are just roaming around the map now.
Oftentimes you could put Dyrus down early on in the game, but it's very hard to keep Dyrus down in an LCS match. That time, he knew he had the Trinity Force. He waits on a pink ward. He saved his dash when he stunned Apollo, which just put him in a whole world of trouble. And Dyrus burned so much of Team Impulse's resources with that open that it made the cleanup just easy for TSM, and now they're getting more.
A lot of players would allow that to get in their head, would just not be able to play up to the same level, but Dyrus is used to always being focused. He knows it's not the end of the world. He plays his game, and the team can still, even when he's 0-2 nothing, come back and get kills out of his lane, get plays from there. Bjergsen actually got one out of that as well. He's now 2-0-1 after not really seeing anything all game, and somehow it always just explodes for Team Solomid out of nowhere.
Every once in a while. I mean, this time we know the explanation. It's not some miraculous thing. It's the double Trinity Force power spike that they hit.
They used it.
And the vision control that Santorin was able to accomplish with that Sightstone on top of the Tremor Sense. Now they try to extend it in this potential Dragon fight.
Already has the Randuins as well to just completely negate what Apollo wants to bring to the fight. This is going to be tough. Impulse is really going to have to assess these fights perfectly. Looks like TSM is going to want to engage at any time.
Maybe they just go for lane pressure.
Even looking to get solo damage here. He actually takes a Sonic Wave to the face, so he's going to hold off onto that. But with the blue buff, we're surely going to see him distorting in, trying to get damage here and there. Already in the face of impact, only goes for the sigil before he gets out.
Yeah, he's got to be so careful about those dark
Still bindings.
Who can poke who harder? The Leona ult is valked away from by Wildturtle, making the Dragon contest a little bit more dicey for Impulse.
Yeah, well, Leona definitely a good pick for locking things down. He's got a lot of members that can dash away from that Solar Flare. We've already seen twice it going wide. XiaoWeiXiao in as well, so Impulse not afraid to show their strength here, what they have.
Bjergsen actually recalls to finish his Void Staff in the middle of a lane, on top of a lane ward that TSM didn't know that was there. So really, after all of that posturing, that fight was won by a single mid lane ward that TSM forgot about. They were hoping that they had enough pressure he could recall and come back with the Void Staff. Instead, they knew Bjergsen was gone. Take it. Great job by Team Impulse with the lane ward.
The champion ward. High, getting clears out. Looks like he wants to actually go for some 1v1 situations now. He rushes Void Staff right after that Athene, so he can start popping people out. So more spikes here to be had by Team Solomid to go along with those Triforce in the top and dual lane. 2-0-0 for Wildturtle, actually not having a bad time in lane at 190 to 196. So him and or actually rather, Bjergsen and Lustboy now getting the roam on, but they have to be careful because they are walking over a lot of wards here. They could be the potential picks XiaoWeiXiao and the team are looking for.
It just takes one good Dark Binding from Impact. It's not a support Dark Binding that doesn't do much damage. It trucks you for half of your health if you get binded and Tormented Soil by a solo lane Morgana. Still just waiting on that Zhonya's. He's about 500 gold shy of being able to get Zhonya's on Morgana. And XiaoWeiXiao's a little bit closer on account of not building boots. He just finished his.
Definitely weird buys. Everybody going for what they needed in the laning phase. We saw Dyrus not get boots for quite some time as well, but everybody getting what they needed to make it work. We saw Dyrus with a lot of focus, and he wanted that Triforce first in the top lane. He was able to get it with his consistent play. TSM now using a bit of their advantage to push forward some of these wards. Not pink wards yet because they can't really control the area. You see Impulse still very much in control of their own jungle.
Yeah, and there is going to be a very small window for Impulse to try and get control back in this game. And it will be when Impact gets his Zhonya's Hourglass from Morgana. They would have to find a fight where he can get off a good ultimate and Zhonya's combo. Because outside of that, it does feel like Dyrus can get too big on a tenacity-heavy Irelia for the double AP composition. He could run clean through, zone out Apollo, and then the rest of the team can try and kind of deal with that cast of Morgana, especially when you consider TSM already has a gold lead. It's a very narrow success case that Impulse has here, and they need to make use now that they just hit that double Zhonya's Hourglass.
Yep, double Zhonya's as well as Lucidity boots for Impact, so along with adding a little bit of damage, he can also continuously add those bindings. Black shields to keep people safe. A ward placed there into Rush's Raptor camp causes his Raptor oracles to go off right away, so he won't be able to use that. But he finds a pink after for his troubles, so not a problem. Team Solomid warding up Baron just a tad and gathering a bit of the resources here on the top side of the jungle. With Dyrus backing, I don't see too much aggression ready to come out of Team Solomid here. They're biding their time, but they're definitely not pushing the advantage that they have here.
Yeah, I think they're wary. They're wary right now of the potential of a Morgana binding. Team Solomid has been getting better at only taking advantages that they can get. Sometimes you could say they're even a little overly passive with their games. I mean, against COG when they gave up all those dragons, they were just waiting to find a fight that they could win. They could never actually find a high percentage fight, so they took the last fight that had a decent percentage. Here, TSM can find higher percentage fights, but they're just not overwhelmingly good percentages as far as winning goes, unless Dyrus gets it on the right target at the start of the fight.
I love the way that Impulse plays. Even when they're behind, they still try to look for the fights. Impact having to use his Zhonya's only for one Soul Shackle. Oh, Turtle gets caught in the front of the fight. Lustboy from behind. This could be a huge Timbers if he nails it. Impact and Apollo get hit, but the team's already spreading. It was too little, too late.
Misposition from Wildturtle, and now Impulse is back on the offensive.
That's what they wanted the whole time, pushing themselves into the jungle, whether they had vision or not, and they find a fight that gives them a bit of an edge. Maybe an inner turret here as well. Dragon is in 1:30, so they still got to scrap for that, but this is a good move.
That was Team Impulse fighting without a good ultimate out of Impact. What? Another Dark Binding and another pop by Impulse.
Definitely some interesting decisions to be made after losing a few members of your team, and it allows Impulse to start grabbing more. Blue buff going over to XiaoWeiXiao. Bjergsen won't be able to get that.
Hey, that is the moment in the game that Team Impulse needed to make a bit of a move. And here it looked like TSM had found the fight that they wanted. Remember, Impact gets off a full ultimate here. He ults just Dyrus and Bjergsen. Ult on Dyrus doesn't matter much, but the fact that Wildturtle was in front of Santorin, there were no binding blockers there. Impulse can just pile in afterwards. Even though Lustboy came around the back for an ultimate, there were no Corki rockets to combo up with the stun. And it ends up being just the support damage, which is not enough for a fight. So this game just got good.
Yeah, Impulse never letting down. He was able to grab a last few bits of a fight, clean up, and make the team that really has the advantage start second-guessing a few of their moves. We'll see if Team Solomid falls into that now. Bjergsen still calling shots from 202, so that shouldn't be too hard for him. You got to notice that Santorin has some deep Rek'Sai tunnels as well that may come into use here at some point.
Very true.
28 minutes on the clock. We're 5-5 on this game. It just tightened up a lot.
And it's 1 dragon to 1, so both teams have that multiplier for their attack damage and the ability power. The turret damage that you get from the second dragon actually isn't that important. So if anyone can trade something more than the dragon, I think they'll take it. It's more of just a reason to fight right now because you don't want to give it up for free. And there's a bit too early and the game's a bit too close to try anything around there.
Right through the brush. They feel like they have it again. They push it onto Wildturtle and they explode Lustboy. This could be another fight. Dyrus forced to flash out. Turtle again gets hit up by the crowd control in the middle of the fight. Not looking good now for Team Solomid. The picks are happening and the picks continue for Team Impulse. Dyrus on the side able to get one onto Rush, but that's all they got out of that fight.
Bjergsen not a significant contributor in that fight. Team Impulse finding the fights yet again on this one. All about Adrian just going for it with Leona and everyone else piling on afterwards. And yes, the turret is more important than the dragon at the moment. They take the important objective here.
Just forcing these ones so nicely. Walking right up through the river brush. Telegraphed that one, but it was still not something that Team Solomid could handle. A little bit of pressure here to the dragon might cause them to back off. But it looks like they should have enough damage to finish and get out of this one on time.
He's going to want to cause problems, but he's got to be careful. Those bindings still last on Irelia.
That's the deep Rek'Sai tunnel. He could be coming up big on this one if the team can keep going in. Bjergsen a little too far ahead of the team. He goes down. Kassadin and XiaoWeiXiao is on the ground as well. They're going to be able to pick up a kill on the impact. Adrian only offering the crowd control utility here. And with that huge Void Rush, they may be able to keep picking up kills. Corki just on the outside. Wildturtle the Valkyrie in. And Santorin helps the team pick up a few and repair that debacle of a dragon fight.
The setup from the Rek'Sai tunnel so infrequently is that something more than a farm alarm. This time, it was a legitimate danger alarm for Team Impulse because Santorin came in behind them, and this game just exploded in action.
Oh, getting antsy in the pantsy. Rush goes in. Lustboy, 2 turret shots. He's down to 200 HP.
Rush!
Oh, he connects the resonating strike. Kicks back Dyrus. They may not have enough damage. Connected again. Oh, he gets the next sonic wave off to finish the kill from Adrian. And Santorin's left wondering. Wildturtle as he comes down.
Wow. Woo. All the action. All of it. Just in the last few minutes. We're now...
It was 5-5.
Yeah. What amounts to a double ace just happened in the last few minutes. This game getting so close. And I love it too because this is more about Team Impulse playing up to their potential than it is about TSM dropping the ball. We were talking so much. We got to go over this fight. Whee! Knowing that Impulse was just about to take something, Dyrus trying to cause as much trouble as possible. Such nice mechanics displayed in that fight by Impact's Morgana. Morgana mid lane has been known as a counterpick to LeBlanc because she can shove the lane, but also because in the team fights, when you see a LeBlanc jumping towards you, you just shoot a binding in that direct direction. Because at that point, if LeBlanc either gets caught inside or when she takes it back, there's no way of dodging the binding from LeBlanc's perspective. That's the punishment that happens. And then TSM still won the fight because the whole of it was started by Santorin getting the flank on them with Rek'Sai.
Oh, it's good to keep the pressure onto the dragon. It absolutely paid off in this game. Get tighter and tighter as it goes on. 11-10, 32 minutes in. We're about 2,000 gold difference across the board, but we've seen that that gold is not affecting Impulse's want to fight or fights really. It's just about who's been there at the time that the engage happens. 2 dragons to 1. We did see the Impulse still grab that dragon off of the fight as Team Solomid cleaned up. See where they can go from here. Not afraid to keep these lanes pushed, but they are going with power in numbers as Bjergsen getting bigger and bigger, has that Rabadon's finish now.
And if we look at the history so far in this LCS season, Team Solomid has a much better track record in close games. Even looking back to yesterday, Team Impulse had come back kind of like they did in this game, but to an even greater extent, actually gotten supremacy in the match and then still lost. They need to execute for their own morale here after making another comeback and not give this game back to TSM. But TSM is technically still in control if you look at the goal.
Their late game decision making under pressure is on point, so when they have the lead, it's really going to be something you have to worry about. Impulse still wandering about the mid lane. They have a good push on the side waves. right now, at least the bottom one is completely in their favor. They're respecting Team Solomid here. The engage, flash Tibbers, not up just yet. Waiting for that for Lustboy, but I don't know if Impulse is privy to that knowledge as well as they back off every so often, giving XiaoWeiXiao the shield for if he wants to go in.
And now another power spike that we need to track is when people hit level 16.
Right.
Impact hit level 16 just now and does have a Morellonomicon as well, so huge amounts of CDR on that Morgana ultimate as well as the boost in damage. It's only a 1-minute cooldown on that Morgana ultimate now with all the CDR he has, meaning he can have it up pretty much every fight. So close here.
Very interesting build from Apollo as well without kind of foregoing the Last Whisper or any kind of armor pen. He's going to be shooting brick walls as he's at Dyrus and Santorin.
Interesting. He's going for the defensive capabilities of a Bloodthirster. And Impact, that's not a good ultimate.
Wildturtle, oh, the front line. He put his shell on for that one. He's safe. Don't worry. This time he does not go down. But Impact has to react to that. And so does the rest of Impulse, knowing that Wildturtle is now wanting to go that hard to blow his own summoner spell to grab a kill. Team Solomid is looking to get this next layer of turrets down quite quick. 1 minute on to Dragon. We're going to get both of these guys back in as nobody went down for that, and we might have a real good 5v5. We've been seeing those extended fights kind of go in favor of Impulse here.
Yeah, it's all a baiting game at this point because they're so close in actual team fights. It's whoever can get the right initiation. Impact losing his Flash and Zhonya's there because he was trying to catch Wildturtle in a recall. He thought he saw Wildturtle in the mid lane.
Okay.
And Bjergsen was kind of in the wings. Wildturtle canceled his recall, dodged the binding, and then it was Bjergsen who tried to punish the overexposed Impact. And he did a good job of it, burning both the Flash and the Zhonya's away.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. Definitely a window that TSM can nicely work with now without that added pressure of somebody getting locked down. No flash here, means it's only XiaoWeiXiao to go in this time. Usually we saw Adrian on the backside. That's the fight we saw from Impulse just a little bit ago as they came up in the mid lane, so they're trying to just repeat, rinse and repeat. There it is again.
Yeah, but now they're going to fight him.
That's the Zhonya's. Tibbers goes out. They block up the Tibbers, but where's the damage onto the champions? Wildturtle gets hit. Dyrus is the focus, but he's able to take a lot still. Impulse takes down the tank and the AD carry right away. One of the tanks, I should say. And now it looks like they're going to be able to take Dragon.
Yep, Dragon number 3. That's starting to become a danger. What we saw right there was the display of what happens in the Kassadin versus LeBlanc matchup if it's close in the late game. He comes up with these somewhat untradeable moves. He'll Q him, get a huge magic shield, burst him, and then go right back out again.
Yep.
And they poked Bjergsen at the start of the fight before they could go back in again. And the second time when they went for the turn, he had a black shield on top of his Zhonya's, I think. Look at this. So a little bit of miscoordination there, but he is essentially safe for that. Wildturtle can't be a big factor in these games because XiaoWeiXiao isn't being contained.
Yeah.
Impact that time had a very strong zoning ultimate on Morgana as well.
How did Adrian live? He absorbed just about everything Team Solomid had to put out in that fight.
Yeah.
I realized that. So great moves by him as well. Locket, face of the mountain, keeping himself going.
If we're looking at the sustained damage on Team Solomid, Adrian lives because they're killing Wildturtle. He's the only one who's really going to be killing the Leona. And Bjergsen needs to save his damage for the AP carries and the Graves. And Dyrus needs to also be worrying about backline threat. There's actually not much to clear a tank line from Team Impulse outside of Wildturtle, who can't stay alive.
Look at this on Lustboy as well. He gets himself a Quicksilver Sash.
Which is really strange. To do a Quicksilver sash over Mikhail's when it's your AD carry who's getting caught out again and again.
Yeah.
I think they're going to kind of end up
They're definitely focusing Turtle.
Yeah, they're going to both get the QSS. Wildturtle just has to get that, and they're going to kind of deal with themselves. Because oftentimes, Lustboy has been the one needing the QSS as well.
We do see the null magic mantle there for Wildturtle. A little bit of magic resist building up to that. A good back and forth. Somehow they're on each other's side of the map. I don't really.
Yeah, this is
like
really
we'll trade. Don't worry.
Dyrus was trying to do a split push, but Impulse is ahead of the game on this one.
Very much so. That is one heck of a minion wave they're rushing into this one with. That turret was not long for this world, and neither will the next one be. Team Solomid way out of position. They may be forced to go for a fight here to stop this from going down because
they're
they can't
losing
get to the base
so
first.
much here.
What a move.
But they might get control of the fight here as long as no one gets caught with the binding. Will they go?
Dyrus doesn't teleport in. He had a chance to go to the pink ward up towards Tribrush, but he's not even home guarding out here. Now he's going to teleport in.
This is going to be the game.
They may be able to get a good fight here. Santorin goes in to keep them there. We see the Tibbers is out as well, and it is going to be the fight. Lustboy gets himself out. That Quicksilver Sash somewhat coming into play, but he still goes down. The fight is now Impulse. This death ball on the back line ready to now push forward. They get it onto Turtle once again. That's where the Quicksilver Sash needed to be, and Impulse is going to start moving into the base to wreck house.
Riv, they have the minion wave. This fight is so late in the game, and they can't quite get Bjergsen.
That
might be what stops the game from ending, the fact that Bjergsen didn't die there.
What an intense fight every time from Impulse to even win the pinch there from TSM. Whew. What a game.
Riv. Yeah, Team Impulse has taken it from a deficit. They used the power spikes they got from the double Zhonya's hourglasses, and they have built that into a lead.
See it again.
The black shields on the Kassadin have been devastating for TSM. They cannot deal with XiaoWeiXiao's Kassadin in the backline. We look at the start of this fight, and yes, Dyrus tries to collapse down, but it's a black shield onto Kassadin, and he goes.
And Zhonya's.
What are they going to do? They're not going to be able to burst him down with the LeBlanc because of the huge number on the black shield. He goes in again and again. They're comboing the initiation, and Dyrus isn't big enough, and frankly, can almost never be big enough to be a one-man wrecking crew in the backline like that. Apollo is strong enough to fend him off on his own, and it's allowing some destruction by XiaoWeiXiao's Kassadin.
Whew. They were able to get real big in the early game here, but that bigness is not helping out Team Solomid with the type of moves in the way that Impulse has adjusted to the playstyle of Team Solomid.
Impulse has done a great job coming back 2 games in a row now. How similar is this to the storyline from yesterday against Team 8 when they were losing
different result, please.
They hope so, and it would be so much more rewarding to beat the #1 team in the North American LCS, Team Solomid. They need it too, not only from a mental perspective, but in the standings.
Yeah.
A win here moves them to 6-6, and importantly, ahead in that race for the playoffs. They need this, they want this, and they're in position to get it.
Yep.
It's just a matter of playing this game smart.
Just a few more fights. Looks like they're going to put their attention now towards the bottom lane. Rush himself actually getting very big now that he's stacked on this Randuin's and Warmogs. That helps him in those tendencies to go under the turret a little bit more. Dyrus bound on the outside. That's only free damage for now. Lustboy hits out the Tibbers. Not much was gained out of this. It didn't look like the team was ready. Wildturtle could go down, and he gets ignited immediately. How does he keep going down first? Now it's the kill going on to Bjergsen. Lustboy falls. There's Dyrus. Santorin actually gets hit. They're over the wall. The bindings are just on point from impact. And being outspoken about the Morgana pick, he brings out the plays once again.
They picked it early, it's a flex, but we thought it was going in the top lane, and that flash ultimate just ended the game against TSM. No escape from that Morgana. Team Impulse pulls off the upset, 41 minutes in.
One of the most definitive games to take down Team Solomid and to bring themselves 6-6 here on the split. Team Impulse